Hello, everyone. Welcome to the screencast. It's Massey Chanot, and today we're going to be picking up a new concept called absolute value. In our math class, we've been talking about integers, and we broke integers down into our own way of thinking about them. Integers are numbers. They can be represented on a number line that don't have fractions or decimals added onto them. So, for example, the number 5, yeah, that's an integer. And we're even starting to talk about negative numbers now. So, -3 would be a great example of an integer. Before our last unit, we were talking about rational numbers, and rational numbers did have fractions in them, but not the numbers we're going to be playing with in this upcoming unit. So, integers, numbers that don't have attached fractions and decimals. Thank you, sixth grade. That's a great definition. Today I want to talk about absolute value and what that means. Whoop, not that. That. Also, opposites of numbers and what that means. And I think the way we need to think, if that makes any sense, is let's look at number lines and see how our number system works. And that's going to help us with both these terms. First of all, with opposites, here we have a negative number, which means we're missing 5 of something. So that would be called -5. And to find the opposite of -5, I think I can use a number line. Let's take a look using a number line, how that might work. To get from 0, which is primarily our starting spot, to -5, we go 5 spaces. And if I go the opposite direction, in this case right, or in the red direction, positive direction, I go 5 that way too. So I would say that the opposite of -5 is 5, right? And that seems kind of basic and easy. The opposite of -4 would be 4. The opposite of -1 would be 1. So we're kind of just taking away that negative symbol, and that's how we do opposites. Let's take a look at absolute value now. Absolute value is represented by this bar notation around a number, and this phrase says evaluate the absolute value of -7. The best way of thinking about absolute value is how far away from 0 is -7. So if I take a look at a number line like this one, I can measure 7 units or to go from 0 to -7. Even though I'm going in the negative direction, it still means that I have to travel 7 bounces to get down there. So I would say that the absolute value of -7 is 7, or 7 movements on our number line. If I'm asked to evaluate a phrase like, what is the absolute value of 5 with the absolute value of -6, I need to figure out both absolute values. And firstly, let's take a look at 5. 5 is 5 spaces away from 0, so the absolute value of 5, let me go over to a report, is 5. And then I need to look at the absolute value of -6. And if I recall, the absolute value of -6, or how many spaces away from 0 -6 is 6. So the answer to this question is 11. Some might say, okay, that's interesting, but how does that actually work in a real life situation? Let's take a look at a word problem. That might be helpful. So if a seagull is flying at 25 feet above sea level, that means it's, if I was looking at a number line, that would be 25 above 0. So that's a positive 25. Nevaeh is diving 15 feet below sea level. So if I'm thinking about that 15 feet below, running, thinking this is below, it's below 0 or a negative number. If I was drawing that, I might represent it. Here's 0, maybe up here somewhere is 25 feet. That's where the seagull is. And then diving in the water about 15 feet below, or negative 15 below, is Nevaeh. I don't know if I'm going to just draw her. course, with hair, we know that's not me. That's where she is. But let's come up with a way of representing that using this absolute value concept we just kind of clicked into. You could write an equation that looks like, come on. Let me do a little erasing here. So we have the absolute value of 25 plus the absolute value of negative 15. And when we change those numbers to just normal numbers, we would say it's 25 plus 15. So the distance between Nevaeh and the seagull is 40 feet. That's how you use absolute value. I think another real simple way of thinking of absolute value, if there's a negative symbol inside that absolute value box, get rid of the negative symbol and you have its value. Ladies and gentlemen, that is absolute value, and that's the math you should know.